Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. All right, there we go. Anyways, welcome to the Mikestand. Today is of course Monday, December 9th, 2024. So we're gonna go ahead and give people a chance to come in. If you haven't already, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we get some more friendly people here to engage, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So let me just take this real quick. Everybody shout! Come on, let's hang out. It's time for the groovies get together. We're gonna see how funny they can be when it's time for the groovy ghoulies show. Do. Alrighty then. So, as we wait for people to come in, let's see. Yes. Well, as I said, we'll talk a little bit about what's on tap in a minute or so. Just want to again give people a chance to come in. Maybe just doing a little last minute invites, as it were. Kinda groovy. And you know they love you too. Hey, everybody shout. Come on, let's hang out. It's time for the groovies get together. We're gonna be how funny they can be. Well, it's time for the groovy ghoulies show. Do 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 do. And they know they love you too. All right, well, it looks like we have three people here. We're just past 3 minute mark, so I think what I will do now, I'll talk a little bit about what's on tap for tonight. So tonight, of course, we're gonna be going over an article from Bounding into Comics, an interview with Athena Finger, the granddaughter of Bill Finger, co-creator. And this was a interview that was done by Dante Eric, I believe, of Bounding into Comics. Where she's going to talk about DC, The Dark Knight, and her campaign to get him a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Also, of course, we'll have the wrestling wrap up um, later in the show. A lot of stuff coming out off of this weekend, as this past weekend, as well as this coming weekend, and of course, finishing things up with this day in each history. So, let's see now. And one more little thing here, and then we shall get started. All right, so we're coming up on 5 minutes now. I guess it'd be a good time to get started here. So, I only picked the one article because usually with interviews like this, they they tend to take up the majority of the show anyways. So That's why I'm doing this here. That's why so it'll probably take a good chunk of the show, and then of course to get through the wrestling and the wrestling wrap up and the this day in each history will also take some time. So all right, exclusive interview. Granddaughter of Batman co-creator Bill Finger talks DC, The Dark Knight, and her campaign to get him a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Article by Dante Eric, published December 7th, 2024, which of course was this past Saturday. So let's, and there's of course a scene from the DCAU, Batman the Animated, voiced of course by the late great Kevin Conroy. Crashes Chucky Souls, who's of course voiced by the late great Dick Miller in Mask of the Phantasm. All right, so it has been nearly a decade since DC Comics finally decided to officially give their Golden Age scribe, Bill Finger, co-creator credit for his work on Batman. This was only after a dark journey that started over 7 decades prior to that long overdue recognition. 70 years, huh? Right. An entire human life cycle full of pain, despair, betrayal, abandonment, poverty, and death not only uh, affected not only Bill but his family as well. His story is one of the greatest tragedies in the comic world, the miscarriages of justice, and most certainly one of its ugliest kept secrets. So this is opening pages on issue 33, The Legend of the Batman, that we just saw right there. And as always, guys, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I'll try to answer the question best of my ability. So, as we continue on here, when Bill Finger was working on those first issues of Detective Comics in 1939 and forming his deep foundations, there was no way he could foresee the affluent future that awaited the character. He just stuck to writing the stories, while his partner artist, Bob Kane, handled the business side of things. That agreement did not work in Bill's favor because Bob took full credit for creating the Batman, then sealed his claim with an iron fist wrapped in miles of legal red tape. Finger would continue writing, in parentheses, on and off with Batman until the 1970s, but never got the credit he deserved. While his partner would accumulate a vast amount of wealth off of the character he helped him create, Bill died from conclusive coronary arteriosclerosis in 1974 at the age of 59, penniless and forgotten. In 1989, Bob Kane confessed that Bill was an quote unquote unsung hero of Batman's beginnings, but he really downplayed the fact that he was personally responsible for this. Coming clean about it 15 years after the person dies is about as useful as nipples on a bat suit. Well, I don't know. I would nipples on a bat suit. I don't know. I think Apex might have something to say about that. If you guys have seen the Fembat cover, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Anyways, For the longest time, people thought that Bill's lifeless body was tossed into a pauper's grave, but fortunately that wasn't the case. His son Fred, born December 1948, so basically that would mean he'd be turning about 76 this month, honored his father's wishes to be cremated and then spread his ashes into the shape of a bat um, across a beach in Oregon. It was then that Fred would begin his lone battle to avenge the wrong done to his father and try to restore the family legacy. Unfortunately, he would not live to see this. Fred Finger died of age-related complications in February 1982 at 43. Um, the fight would eventually pass down to his daughter Athena, and she would be the one who finally made the dream come to fruition in 2015. So almost 10 years ago. Hmm. The moment was bittersweet for Miss Finger. Wrongs were righted, credit was given, and justice was finally served. But the memories remain. Nothing will ever erase what her father and grandfather had to endure throughout their lives, nor will anything relieve the heavy hearts both men took with them in the end. This is a weight that she carries on her shoulders, along with the effect it has had on her own life. Hmm. As always, if you guys anything grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the question the best of my abilities. So, anyways, continuing on with the article. She does so with a smile that rivals the Joker, but without the mass murdering. Okay? It has been a long road for Athena Finger, but almost every great hero story begins with tragedy. After After attending the Hollywood Walk of Fame ceremony for Batman last September, she has made it her mission to get her grandpa a star next to his caped creation and his old pal, in small quotes, Bob Kane, who got his in 2015. That's why she set up a GoFundMe campaign to make it a reality. I had the honor of talking with Miss Finger over the phone to get more information about the campaign and to also hear her experience with living in the shadow of a bat. We now go live to the conversation that's already in progress. All right.
Are you really up for going for a walk tonight? Like I did.
Mm. Dante Erics. No, I'm serious. If you flip a can of red dog beer upside down, the top part of the inverted logo shows Batman on Catwoman. Oh boy. Oh man. Athena Finger. It's not that I don't believe you. I just don't care. That's an interesting way to open an interview. Oh boy, yeah. If you flip a beer can over, you get Batman on top of Catwoman. Oh boy, and Athena on a happy Father's Day. Derek. So, Athena, at what age did you find out about the massive hand Billfinger had in creating the Dark Knight and the equally dark world that he inhabits? Athena, I was very young when I became aware of the fact that my grandfather was the co creator of Batman. My father was very vocal about his father's story. Derek, that's one hell of a boast to have in your back pocket, and it must have been impossible to resist reaching for it as a kid. Did you go around telling everybody, or did your father make you swear to keep Bill's identity a secret? Athena, well, when I was in the third grade, we had to write a short story about ourselves and our family for a class project. When I got to the part about Bill, it was immediately questioned by my fellow students. Again, this was the 80s. We didn't have Google or anything to verify what I was saying, so I wouldn't really talk about it after that because I didn't want to have to keep explaining the entire story. Let's see. Derek. Batman has been one of the most celebrated comic book characters and pop culture icons for the past 85 years. Merchandise can be found in almost every store around the planet with his symbol and or likeness slapped across it. Was it easy for you and your family to ignore that while out in public? Or was it like consistently getting salt in a wound that wouldn't close? Athena, for a long time, it was a bitter reminder of something that needed to be resolved. Derek, highly understandable. How do you feel now that it has been resolved? Athena, I feel that it's important that people know the role Bill played in the comic book industry's early days. He was like the Jack Kirby in brackets at DC Comics, and the one everyone went to for ideas when they were stuck with their own storylines. Because when it came down to it, Bill was a storyteller who wanted to entertain readers with the best stories possible. Um, that's what he truly cared about. I need to check something real quick because I think Batman was not the only character I believe Bill Finger had a hand in creating. Need to check something here. I can't be 100% sure, but I also think that Bill Finger also helped to create. Let me just see, Green Lantern, I believe. Yeah, yeah, he was also involved with Green Lantern. That's what I thought. Um, Anyways, I thought that, yeah, because I remember seeing his credit on some of the Green Lantern stories. Some of the Golden Age Green Lantern stories I'd read in the past. Hmm. So, anyways, continuing on here, then let's see. Derek, I know how he feels, or at least I know how he felt. Was your father a comic book fan? That household sounds like paradise to the modern nerd. But times were different back then, and superheroes weren't as celebrated. Athena, I guess he was a comic book fan. Bill would use his input while fleshing out stories, and this also helped him with maintaining a better understanding of his core readers, which at the time were mostly kids around my dad's age. After all, this was the 1950s and 60s. They, in parentheses, they were comic book writers, weren't writing for adults like they often do now. Derek, when did DC first reach out to you? Athena, when my father passed away, I received some signed limited series books they had put out along with a letter, in parentheses, from the offices of DC, stating that they appreciate the contributions Bill made to the creation of Batman and other DC characters while on the ground floor of comic books golden age. They'd already known about me because my father, who, like I said before, was very vocal about getting his father the credit he deserved. Right, Derek responds. Bill finger away. Athena. So it's not like they didn't know who I am. It's just they were never forced to rectify the situation. I was a minor at the time, and I didn't have anyone to help me navigate the legal system to see what my options were. But then I was very discouraged from pursuing the case after my father passed, especially after he had been trying for so long. Derek, many years passed, and Mark Tyler Nobleman tracked you down while working on Bill's biography, published in 2012. This would lead to your reigniting the legal battle with DC over co creator credit, and it ended with you being victorious. Considering the deep multi generational torrent of emotions connected to Batman, did it take a lot of convincing for you to reopen that old bitter door? Let's see, and then Athena here. Let's see, where's all of these? Anyways, continuing on here. Let's see, Athena. When Mark came into the situation in 2007, I wasn't thinking about it at all. I didn't even watch Batman Begins when it came out or anything, and I fell out of the loop while living my own life. I was raising a child, I was married, I was in school, I was trying to build a career. I had all of these things going on, and Batman was the furthest from my mind. When Mark got in touch with me, it was like a giant reminder of this important thing that needs to be dealt with. The whole other side of my family that I disregarded for almost 15 years that still needed to be addressed. And Mark really pushed me in that direction. If it wasn't for him, I probably would have continued focusing on my world outside of all that. Derek, why walk into a dark room if you don't need to? It's an interesting way of putting it. is Athena with Kevin Conroy there, I believe. Athena. Exactly. At first, I was hesitant about pursuing it, in parentheses, legal case. I had my own personal emotional attachments to the character, not only because of how things ended for my grandfather, but my father fought to set things right for him, and he died without it being resolved. The whole thing was just one big emotional mess. Um, so it took a little persuasion to even get me involved in the process. Um, but I'm obviously glad that I did. We got Bill's co creator credit, and now his name is attached to Batman in every form of media where it has always belonged. Hmm. Derek, did your relationship with them, in parentheses DC Comics, change when that all started? Seeing as how they were still inviting you to the premiere of every Batman film during the entire legal battle, did it feel like the temperature would drop several degrees when you ran into them at these public events? Athena, the relationship I have with DC is the relationship I have with DC, and that's it. We have a mutual understanding of what our roles are in everything. I really can't speak too much on the matter, but I'm doing what I can to ensure that Bill Finger's legacy stays in place. That's why I'm currently running a GoFundMe to get him a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. He didn't just write for Batman or comics, but he also wrote the screenplays for a few science fiction movies, and he wrote for television, including a two-parter episode in the 1966 Batman series, The Clock King's Crazy Crimes, The Clock King Gets Crowned. Now that was, I believe, that was based on the original Clock King from the comics, William Talkman, who was more of a, who I guess eventually became more of a Green Arrow enemy. You know, one of Batman's lesser villains that decided he thought have a better shot with Green Arrow than with Batman. So, not to be confused with the Temple Fugate character, the original Clock King character that was created for the DCAU. Um, he deserved to have his name and his own star next to Batman, Bob Kane, Adam West, and Burt Ward. That's why I started the crowdfunding campaign. Fortunately, it cost $75,000 to put a star on the Walk of Fame. But I'm confident that the Bat fans will come together to help achieve this part of Bat history. Derek, Bob Kane got a star back in 2015. Did anyone at DC even mention Bill's name when that happened? Athena says, nope. Quick but sweet. Derek. And when they invited you to attend the Batman ceremony back in September, anything? Athena, first of all, I wasn't even invited by DC. I had to ask to go. What? Derek responds. Athena, they also didn't ask me if I wanted to participate in the unveiling of the star for Batman, nor did they ask me to speak. Apparently, they didn't show me on camera either when they said I was there, and I stood up out of my seat, but I'm glad that I went either way. Someone connected to the Golden Age had to be there for it, and I was the only one in attendance. So, And then Derek asked, "Are you serious? The only one?" And Athena, "The rest were voice actors, a few people within the comic book industry, and Jim Lee. Everyone else there was not a part of Batman's history whatsoever." And then Derek responds, "That is so messed up, Athena. That is the reality of the situation. I don't understand why there is such a persistent disregard for those who help create a character they have been profiting from for nearly a century, and their unwillingness to help create something positive out of a story with such a negative history behind it. It's a real missed opportunity for them. Let's face it, the comic book industry isn't a good place right now, and they need all the good PR they can get. Yeah, but a lot of that damage that's being done to the comic book industry is self-inflicted. Ah, it's so easy for them to spin it into a positive, and I think the fans will respond to it. Let's see, Derek. Um, you regularly attend the biggest annual comic conventions in the country. What got you into that racket? Athena responds, "In 2014, I became the PR face for the Bill Finger estate. My friend, psychologist author Travis Langley, brought me into the scene, and that's how I got involved with the convention circuit. Up until then, I was not part of the comic industry or even the fandom. Not that I ever had anything against it. I just didn't naturally gravitate towards it. Being the 75th anniversary of Batman, 2014, I guess. Um, and now we're at 85th anniversary now, but um, and knowing I was about to start my case for Bill, I felt it was important to start navigating the culture. Luckily, it has been an amazing experience so far. My first one was Wizard World 2014, and I went to the San Diego Comic Con right after that, where I've been presenting the Bill Finger Award for writing every year since. Derek, as a non reader, what was it like to tread those strange waters for the first time? Athena, I was a little nervous coming in because I didn't read comics and I wasn't too familiar with the Batman mythos at that point, but the fans didn't seem to care. Derek, well, it would have been foolish for them to gatekeep comic book royalty. Yeah, I would say so. I would have to agree with you there, Derek. Athena, I think they just wanted to have that certain part of history to connect with. And over the years, I've learned that this is part of the role I have to play in the grand scheme of things. To be that link between the fans and the origin of a character that has resonated with them for the past 85 years. Not only has Batman's story become a beacon for those trying to overcome deep trauma, but it's also been a vast spectrum of influence for people who continue to preserve or persevere through their own lives and struggles. It's a forever learning experience that never ceases to impress me. If any fellow Bat fans have the extra coin this holiday season, here's a link to the campaign. So basically, that's it for that. And as I thought, it did take a good chunk of the time. We're like at 35-minute mark now, and seeing that, and going to go right into the wrestling wrap up, as it were, because um, simply because you know, because we have a lot to cover on the wrestling side of things too. So there's of course news coming out of TNA, WWE, and AEW. So let's go through the weekend here and um, look back over the weekend here to kind of get everybody caught up on the world of professional wrestling here. Of course, now we're going to go back first off to last Thursday's TNA Impact. And we're going to talk about what happened on there. Actually, in fact, I don't even really need to do that because I did that on Friday. Actually, what I will do is I will actually talk a little bit about what's coming up this week and weekend for TNA. As of course, this as final resolution will be this Friday, the 13th. We will of course talk about what's on tap for that. But before we do, let me find see if I can find the yeah, I think right here is what it is. So on the go home Impact before this Friday's which will be this Thursday, on the go home Impact before Friday's final resolution, you have the Rascals, Trey Miguel and Zach Wendt will be taking on Laredo Kid and Leon Slater. Laredo Kid coming off of a recent shot at the X Division title, but also just in the past few days, he's won the AAA World Cruiserweight title down in Mexico. Congratulations to him on that. You have Rosemary taking on Zaya Brookside. On this Thursday, PCO and Sammy Callahan team up to take on Hammerstone and Jake Something. In a continuation of the feud between the By Elegance girls and Spitfire, Danny Luna will be taking on Heather By Elegance. The main event we'll see in a 6-person tag match. TNA World Champion Nick Nemeth, TNA World Knockouts Champion Masha Slamovich, and Joe Hendry taking on the team of First Class of AJ Francis and Casey Navarro, as well as Tasha Steeles. So that's all happening on Thursday's Impact. And then on Friday at Final Resolution, let me first see. Let me see about the pre-show, see if they've announced any matches for the pre-show yet. No, they haven't said. So the countdown, of course, the Final Resolution will happen on YouTube, and then Final Resolution will be taking place from Atlanta, Georgia's center stage. On the show, already signed, of course. Rosemary will be taking on Jordan Grace, a battle of two former TNA Knockouts World Champions, in a number one contendership 4-way match. See who becomes the next number one contender to Nick Nemeth's TNA title. You got 3-time former champ Josh Alexander taking on Joe Hendry. Also taking on former TNA World Champion Steve Macklin and Mike Santana. Moose defends the TNA X Division title against Kushida. Masha Slamovich defends the TNA Knockouts World title against Tasha Steeles. The Hardy Boys, coming off of being put through tables by the System, will have a tables match for the TNA World Tag Team which they will be Jeff and Matt will be defending the TNA World Tag Team titles against the Systems, Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers. And the main event will see Nick Nemeth defending the TNA World title against AJ Francis of First Class. So that's all we got on the TNA side of things. So now let's talk. Let's see. Let's go Friday. So let's see. Kind of get caught up on some AEW. First off, a bit of a news story that's come out over the past few days in AEW, All Elite Wrestling, is of course, as we talked about last week, Penta El Zero Miedo's contract expired, and he is now a free agent. However, his brother and tag team partner in the Lucha Brothers, Ray Fenix, is still with AEW because they're holding him there. They're basically adding time on because Phoenix's injury time for fear that they may go to right away to the WWE if he's let out of his contract. They're not using they haven't been using Ray Fenix, and Tony Khan is getting called out for it, especially after Fenix made a comment on social media recently where he talked about that he felt he was being treated inhumanely. I mean, that's quite a statement. You're basically telling people that your boss is treating you inhumanely. You know, they're not using him. Okay, they won't let him out of his contract. He doesn't. I think he wants to. He and his brother do want to go to the WWE if they can. There's interest there, but you know, Penta's not going to go there without his brother. First off, you know, I think, you know, and there's been a lot of talk in some recent, particularly some recent situations. You know, we also were talking a lot about the Ryan Nemeth and CM Punk situation as well, in which Tony Khan, they've talked about Tony Khan has thin skin, can't seem to take criticism from people in terms of his management style. Which has got a lot of people wondering if, you know, AEW may finally be on the downturn. You know, there's just a lot of sensational stuff going on AEW. We'll talk a lot about what happened, over the weekend here in a moment, but it's something to pay attention to. It looks like what they're trying to do is they're basically trying to put the freeze on Fenix, maybe try to get fans to forget about it. And that's why I think they're holding on to him. They won't use him. They won't, I mean, I mean, it's so bad they won't even use them to put other people over. Usually if somebody is on their way out, at least what they'll do is they'll put other talent over on their way out. That's usually considered the good business thing to do. But they're not even doing that. So, but with that being said, let's talk about, of course, let's talk about Ram. Now, normally Rampage isn't usually much, but of course, this past Friday it was a little bit different because they had three of the Continental Classic matches. They had 4 matches altogether. The show opened up with a non-title Blue League match in which Kazuchika Okada took on and defeated Mark Briscoe. And another non-title match, TNT champion Daniel Garcia took on the Beast Mortos and defeated him, and then there was a exchange between Briscoe and Garcia after the show, heading into the next night's collision. The team calling themselves the Vendetta of Fiona Perazzo and Taya Valkyrie defeated the team of Ella Elizabeth and Freya States. And then the main event saw Ricochet get his first points of the tournament, defeating Commander in the Gold League match, Commander replacing the injured Juice Robinson. So that happened all on Friday night's Rampage, and then we move ahead to Saturday's Collision. A number of things are happening. One of the other things before we get to the matches, of course, one of the other things that happened on the Collision show was a confrontation between Orange Cassidy and the Death Riders. Basically, John Moxley was calling out and saying he was sick and tired and he was going to do something about Orange Cassidy if he upset him one more time. He was basically on the verge of putting some kind of chemical in Orange Cassidy, only for Orange Cassidy to be saved from the Death Riders by FTR, by Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler. So nasty stuff. I mean, they're really pulling out a lot of crazy stuff to try to save face, but I don't think it's really working. People are also not happy with the way Tony Khan's been managing Ring of Honor either. So anyways, now looking to Saturday's Collision. Oh, actually, we didn't need to. The opening match saw a Gold League match in which Darby Allin got his first points after coming off of a very brutal loss to Brody King in his first match. He rebounded and was able to get his first points against Commander as he prepares for his next Gold League match against Will Ospreay at Holiday Blast coming up a week from this Wednesday on the 18th. In the other semifinal qualifying match, or semifinal match in the qualifying tournament for the Wrestle Destiny International Women's Cup, Willow Nightingale defeated Serena Deeb, and now she'll be set to take on Jamie Hayter on this Saturday's Collision. To see who will represent AEW in January 5th at New Japan's Wrestle Destiny event in Tokyo. In a match between the current Continental Champion Kazuchika Okada and Kyle Fletcher. Fletcher defeated Okada, taking a commanding lead in the Blue League with 9 points, as he has yet to be defeated in the tournament. Of course, Okada has had a draw, a win, and now a loss. The Beast Mordos, coming off of his loss last night in under a minute, defeated Aaron Solo in a singles match. In a match in preparation for her match coming up against Mariah May for the AEW Women's World Title, coming up at this Wednesday's Winter is Coming event. Mina Shirakawa defeated Emi Sakura in just under 10 minutes. With, of course, former AEW Women's World Champion Thunder Rosa watching the match. And the main event saw, in a non-title match, in the Blue League, TNT champion Daniel Garcia took on Mark Briscoe. Briscoe got his first points of the tournament, defeating Daniel Garcia to get on the board, as it were, after suffering his first 2 losses in the tournament. So now, to talk about what to look forward to over the next few days here. as of course AEW will have had a busy week in its own right here with the Winners Coming events. Um, of course the Dynamite and the Rampage taping will be taking place in Kansas City, and then in St. Louis will be the collisions. So this Wednesday from the T-Mobile Center in Kansas City, Missouri. Uh, in the final match of the Dynamite Dozen final match to see who will go on to World's End at the end of the month to face MJF for the uh, Dynamite Diamond Ring. Kyle O'Reilly um, takes on Adam Cole. A battle of two friends, two rivals there. In more Gold League action, Claudio Castagnoli, who has 6 points in the tournament right now, takes on Will Ospreay, who has 3. Um, and then in the other Gold League match of the evening, Ricochet and Brody King, who each have 3 points, we take on to see who moves up. You have Jay White and Orange Cassidy taking on the Death Riders duo of John Moxley and Pac. And then the main event, we'll see Mariah May defending the AEW Women's World title against Mina Shirakawa. Let's see now. And then let's see if they've, at least if anything's been signed for Rampage yet, as that will be taped on Wednesday to be shown on Friday. No, nothing's been announced for that yet. And then on this Saturday's Collision, as we were talking about, the Saturday's Collision, already signed for the Saturday's Collision from Chavez Arena in St. Louis. In the Wrestle Destiny National Women's Cup Qualifier Tournament Final match, former AEW Women's World Champion Jamie Hayter will be taking on former AEW TBS Champion Willow Nightingale. Willow Nightingale has had some strong moments in tournaments. Of course, having beaten Mercedes Moné about a couple years ago for the New Japan Strong Women's Championship, and then of course winning. I think she won last year's Owen Hart Cup, the women's Owen Hart Cup, and then in another Blue League match, Yuchiko Okada will be taking on the Beast Mortos. The Beast Mortos will be looking to try to get on the board, as he's been blanked thus far. Okada looks to rebound from his loss to Kyle Fletcher. So that's what's going on in AEW this week. Now we go to the WWE. As of course, unbeknownst to me, they did have an event this past weekend. Breakdown, the NXT Breakdown event. We'll be looking at that. But before we get to that, let's go back to Friday Night SmackDown. As on this last Friday Night SmackDown, as it were. Oh, wait, actually, no, that wasn't it. On last Friday's SmackDown, as of course WWE continues to prepare for the Saturday night's main event. In the first round triple threat match, the tournament to crown the first WWE Women's United States title, Tiffany Stratton defeated Elektra Lopez and Naomi in the match. Bianca Belair defeated Piper Niven. In a match for the WWE Tag Team titles, DIY of Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano defeated the Motor City Machine Guns of Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley, become the new champions. In which we saw the DIY. They replaced the previously injured Street Profits for them to turn heel in this match as Johnny Gargano utilized a low blow on Alex Shelley to get the win. In a non-title match, Cody Rhodes took on Chad Gable in his preparation for his upcoming match with Kevin Owens coming up this Saturday. That all happened on SmackDown this past week, and then getting to Deadline pay-per-view from the Minneapolis Armory in Minneapolis, Minnesota, which was an NXT event. In the finals of the Iron Survivor Challenge, Obafemi, a former NXT North American champion, with 3 points, defeated former NXT champion Ethan Page, 2 points. This is a number one contendership match as well for this title. 2 points for Javon Evans, Nathan Frazier with 1, and Wes Lee with 1. OFME outlasted 4 other competitors. In an NXT Underground match, Lola Vice defeated Jada Parker. In a match for the as Nathan Frazier was pulling double duty on the night, match for the NXT Tag Team titles, Axiom and Nathan Frazier defeated the No Quarter Catch Crew duo of Miles Bourne and Tavian Heights. Trick Williams successfully defended the NXT title over Ridge Holland. The main event saw the women's title number one contendership Survivor Challenge. Julia, with 2 points, outlasted Sol Ruka, Stephanie Vaquer, Ren Sinclair, and Zarya with 1 point each. So that's all what happened over the weekend. And now let's, of course, talk about what's coming up on tonight's Monday Night Raw as they continue to prepare for this Saturday night's main event. Tonight's Monday Night Raw will be coming from the Interest Bank Arena in Wichita, Kansas. Already signed for the night in an 8-man tag match, the Final Testament of The Miz teaming with the Final Testament of Akem, Karrion Kross, and Razor with Scarlett in their corner versus the Wyatt Six of Joe Gacy, Dexter Lumis, Eric Rowan, and Uncle Howdy with Nikki Cross in their corner. In another first-round triple threat match for the Women's Intercontinental Title Tournament, Zelina Vega will be taking on Lyra Valkyrie and Ivy Niles in a triple threat match for see who goes on in the Intercontinental Title Tournament. And then Rhea Ripley looks to get some revenge on Raquel Rodriguez for some of this stuff that she's recently pulled on Ripley in the past month or so. And looking ahead to this Saturday, as this Saturday night's main event, which will be coming to everybody from the Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum, Uniondale, New York. Already signed to do commentary, of course, Jesse Ventura. Of course, the finals of the Women's United States title tournament will be taking place. Also, Liv Morgan will be defending the Women's World title against Io Sky. Gunther defends the WWE World Heavyweight title against Finn Balor, and then Cody Rhodes will be defending the WWE and WWE Universal titles against Kevin Owens. So, that's all we got for the wrestling wrap up. So now let's get down to, with today being, with today of course being, well, give me a second. I'm gonna put some music on for a moment. I'm gonna go off camera here for a quick second. Right back. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. Anyways, let's. With today being, of course, as I said, Monday, December 9th, um, 2024. Let's take a look back at this day in Nietzsche history. History! So, first off, we're going to head back 25 years ago today, as on this date, um, 25 years ago today, as soon as I pull it up here. Hmm. On this date, 25 years ago today, Universal Cartoon Studios, An American Tale, The Mystery of the Night Monster, also known as American Tale 4, The Mystery of the Night Monster, um, premiered in Germany, had its world premiere in Germany on this date back in 1999. So 25 years ago today, An American Tale 4, The Mystery of the Night Monster, premiered in Germany on this date back in 1999, 25 years ago today. Um, Now getting ready to move on to the next piece in each history. We move ahead to 2009 on this date 15 years ago today, as soon as I can. On this date 15 years ago today, the 20th issue of Astounding Wolfman from Image Comics went on sale on this date back in 2009. It sold for $2.99, 32 pages. No title to the story, but it was written, of course, by Robert Kirkman, with art by Jason Howard. Russ Wooten did the lettering, coloring by Francisco Placencia, and Ivan Placencia did the coloring as well. So Francisco and Ivan Placencia did the coloring. So the 20th issue of Astounding Wolfman from Image Comics went on sale on this date back in 2009, 15 years ago today. Now, moving ahead to 2014, on this date in 2014, Wit Studios OVA DVD Attack on Titan No Regrets was released on this date back in 2014. So on this date back in 2014, the DVD for the Wit Studios OVA Attack on Titan No Regrets was released on this date back in 2014, 10 years ago today. And finally, moving on to 5 years ago today, on this date 5 years ago today, on the Go Home Raw before that year's TLC, Go Home Raw before the TLC match. The main event saw Rey Mysterio retain the taking the United States Championship over AJ Styles. Becky Lynch in her preparation for a chance to uh, or actually for in preparation for her and Charlotte Flair's title defense, defeated the Kabuki Warriors in a 2-on-1 handicap match by DQ of Asuka and Kairi Sane. Buddy Murphy defeated Zack Ryder, and Aleister Black defeated Akira Tozawa in preparation for their upcoming event. The Viking Raiders retained the WWE Raw Tag Team Championships over the Street Profits. Show opened up with Drew McIntyre defeating Matt Hardy. So with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. You found it informative. Back here with more niche news tomorrow night. And also this Sunday, of course, Metal from the Vomitorium will be joining me as we will be looking back to comics that went on sale in April of 1940. This week we'll be focusing in on David McKay and Eastern Color. So with that, I thank everybody for being here, and I hope to see everybody back here tomorrow. Bye.